What do property developers use your money for that you invest on our GermanReal.Estate marketplace? That's what the CPU55 was asking in our comment section, and that's a great question that deserves its own video. The high-level answer is pretty obvious: building properties. But what do they use your money exactly for? Because some constructions started already. Let's answer that question in this GermanReal.Estate FAQ. The first thing we have to understand is that the mortgage you are getting as a private person is vastly different than the financing a property developer gets. When you as a private person want to buy a property for, let's say, 100k, just to have the easiest numbers possible, your investment total goes to 110,000 euros because of the closing costs. That is 2% for the notary and the land registry, another 3.5% to 6.5% for land taxes, depending on the state that you're buying in, and 3.57% for the real estate agent if one is involved in the transaction. So it could be as low as 5.5% if you buy here in Bavaria without a real estate agent. It could be over 15% with the super greedy real estate agents you have in Berlin. Let's take a flat 10% as an average for the closing costs. Now, do you have to make a down payment? Mandatory? Or should you make a down payment? Is it a good idea? You can probably guess my answer already. It depends. We'll go into the very details of down payment or not in just a couple of videos from now, so stay tuned for that one. Generally speaking, banks are fine with a 10% down payment. If your property and your personal financial situation is really good, you don't need to make a down payment, and then we'll see in the video a couple of weeks from now if you should still do it. If your financial situation and your property are not that great, banks ask for a 10% or so down payment, bringing your investment total for our little example anywhere from 10k to 20k. That's really manageable, right? Saving up 10k or 20k if you want to invest your money in a small flat worth 100k. But for property developers, things look a little different. There's a new property we are currently working on, which we can hopefully show you very soon, which would be roughly 10 million construction costs when everything is done, let's say. And please keep in mind that this is just an example, with quite realistic numbers, but just an example to answer the question from CPU69. If the entire property is worth around 10 million after construction, the plot it's standing on may be worth 2 million, as an example. So at the time the property developer is purchasing the plot, he has to pay closing costs only on that value and not on the potential value of some potential property he will construct later on. And that's why the closing costs are only 200k, bringing the investment total to 10.2 million. And that's also the reason why property development can be so much more profitable than buying a property that is constructed already. And that's why we founded GermanReal.Estate, to give you guys the chance to invest in highly profitable property developments all around Germany. And now we come to a topic property developers are not gonna like one single bit: the down payment. And that's another reason why we started GermanReal.Estate, because banks have become more and more cocky over the years, and nobody wants to work with them anymore. And let me predict this: if banks continue going the route they're currently working on, they will not exist anymore in the way that we know them today 10 years from now. So the old quote from Bill Gates is right. While you as a private investor can get away with 0% down payment if everything works out, property developers had to bring in around 10% before the pandemic and before all the craziness with the war and inflation and whatnot. But these days, banks demand more like 20% down payment from property developers. Mandatory to get financing in the first place. That is 2 million euro in our little example. And we've also seen banks demand 30% down payment from property developers. And it's not just that. Banks also demand a personal guarantee or personal liability from the property developer. Now I'm asking you, for a property like what we have here in our little example, where's the money gonna come from? For this single project, we're talking about a 1.7 million up to 3.2 million equity property developers have to bring in themselves before they get bank financing. Which brings us to the next problem, the timeline of property development. Let's say a property developer acquires a plot today. Then they have to pay 2.2 million in our example, almost entirely from equity, right? Almost everything, if not everything, paid from the property developer itself. And then the planning begins. Construction plan, getting the building permit, offers from handyman, which probably takes on average until the property developer can start selling the first units during the construction phase, about 2 years. 2 years the property developer has to invest 2 million euros of his own money until the first euro can come in again from selling the first units. And then it probably takes another 2 years until the property is finished and sold off completely. Meaning the property developer realizes the full profit after about 4 years. And then in a world without GermanReal.Estate or alternative financing sources, the property developer could go to the next plot and repeat the process. Building one single property every 4 years is not efficient at all. And my personal guess is nobody would do property development in a world like this. So this is where you guys are coming in with your investment, helping property developers to scale. Because our real estate security tokens count as equity. So if we, as a community, would invest the 2 million to get 20% of the entire construction project, the property developer could use his equity for another project at the same time. And you guys would earn a fixed interest rate and a profit share for your 20% contribution. Explained in this video in detail. Hopefully that answers CPU's questions, and if you have any other question, let me know in the comments. Happy weekend, party people!